Assalamualaikum. Today we will be presenting our movie-based case study. The movie we chose is How to Train Your Dragon, which features a lot of interesting communication dynamics that relate to what we've learned in this course. My name is Muhammad Nasruddin Hussein. For our presentation, we are focusing on how communication plays a big role in both relationship and conflicts. So, why did we choose How to Train Your Dragon? A fantasy movie, it shows real life communication problems. There is a mix of verbal and non-verbal messages, and most of the situations can be linked to topic we have learned. This movie highlights things like misunderstanding, fear, stereotypes, and trust, and it shows how communication can change everything. Plus, it's fun to watch. We divided this movie into 6 acts. Act 1, the introduction to Berk, the Viking and Dragon crisis, until Act 6, where the Vikings and dragons can live peacefully together. There are 4 characters involved. The first one is Hiccup, the main character. The second is Toothless, the dragon, Stoic the vase, and Astrid. And we pick 4 communication issues from the movie: misunderstandings, stereotypings, misinterpretations, and nonverbal communication barriers.
My name is Arni Carmila binti Muhammad Rashid. One of the biggest problems in How to Train Your Dragon is the deep misunderstanding between Hiccup and his father, Stork the Vast, and by the extension, the whole Viking community. To them, Hiccup is weak, clumsy, and not fit to be a real Viking warrior. This makes Hiccup feel distant and alone because no one really sees his true strength. He doesn't want to kill dragon. He just wants to understand them. A key moment that clearly shows this misunderstanding is when Stork finds out that Hiccup has been secretly trained and protecting a dragon instead of trying to kill it. Stork, shocked and deeply disappointed. In anger, he shouts, "You are not Viking. You are not my son." At this point, Stork believes that Hiccup has betrayed his village. But what Stork doesn't see is that Hiccup is actually trying to protect the people, but in a different way. He used peace, empathy, and creativity instead of violence. This conflict becomes the turning point of the story. It forced Hiccup to prove his worth not through strength, but through his bond with Toothless, the dragon. Eventually, the other Viking began to see it too, that Hiccup way can work and that dragon aren't just mindless enemy. But when Hiccup tried to explain his point of view to his father Stork, he doesn't really listen. He hears the word but doesn't take time to understand. Instead, he reacts emotionally and shouts Hiccup down. This is a perfect example of a failure in empathy and objective listening as explained by the Defler and Colleges 2013. Stork lets his emotion take over and refuses to hear Hiccup out. Because of that, their relationship starts to fall apart. In the end, the misunderstanding is important to the whole story. It shows that when we break harmful tradition and start truly listening to each other, we can create real positive change in one situation. To fix the communication issue between Hiccup and his father Stork, one key solution is his father should support his son's self-concept. Self-concept is how we see ourselves in our ability, personality, and work. Hiccup's self-concept was damaged because he was consistently seen as weak and different by others. This have lowered his self-esteem and made him feel like outsider. So, for the solution, encouragement, acceptance, and emotional support is important. If Stout has recognized Hiccup's strength, like his intelligence, creativity, and empathy, and offer positive feedback to him, it can boost his confidence. According to Diffler 2013, strong self-concept lead to better communication and relationship. Another important solution is empathy and objective listening. Stop need to listen not just with his ears but with understanding. This means he have to slow down and really pay attention to his son and asking questions to understand him better and avoiding assumption and judgment and stay calm even when he just hear a shock news. If Stock has listened this way, he might listen that Hiccup wasn't betraying the village, but he just want to protecting it with different way. By supporting self-concept and use empathic listening, Stock could have strengthened their relationship and changed the outcome of the story. These two simple tools to support emotional and listening is also can fix the problem. Also, they can build trust, understanding, and a stronger bond between people.
Hello, my name is Rishami Benavad, and yeah, hi. The stereotyping and demonization of dragons by the Vikings of Berk. Alright, so the Vikings, though not very intellectual, they kept a very detailed encyclopedia regarding the dragons and what to do when encountered. So, in the in the book, it is stated that it was shown in the film that most when encountered most dragons, except for the Night Fury, the usual what you call it, protocol into dealing with them is to kill on sight. Right, so though in the eyes of the layman person who has not experienced any contact with a dragon, this may seem a bit this might seem like a bit of an extreme demonization, or like some. It sounds a bit more what you call it, a bit rude, if I were to say so myself. So, but to them, this is vital for their survival because to them, fighting fire with fire is the only tactic that can ensure their lives. So, this sentiment appeared mostly because the dragons keep coming and keep stealing their food, stealing their people. But there is nuance to this. The dragons are not doing this because they have to do it. They have to do it to eat them just for. They're not doing it for fun. They're doing it because they have a big boss called um, oh, the big boss, the large dragon they call the Red Death. So this dragon that is situated deep beyond the Helheim's Gate, he's what you consider a very manipulative leader. So the dragons follow his orders. If not, they die. They get eaten, like shown in the scene where Hiccup and Toothless and Astrid goes beyond Helheim's Gate and into the dragon's nest. They can see that, yes, they can see a large dragon eating a Gronkel. Yeah, it's quite scary for a kids' cartoon, but it's realistic. So the problem is them because of Red Death. The dragons will not attack humans without Red Death manipulating them too. So the solution to this problem is to call it it's not easy to implement, but the theory itself is easy. So it was also shown a bit in the movie where Hiccup observes the dragon beforehand before actually doing it. He actually considers what is going on before murdering the dragon. In this case, Toothless. Right. So the solution to it is to firstly observe beforehand. Before doing anything, we need to observe, and we need to analyze the nuances, the things that are happening in scene. It's not just, oh, that's a dragon, we should kill it. No, you need to look at the dragon's behavior. Right, so if the Vikings were to assess the dragons beforehand by watching them in a non-agitated phase, like maybe they watch them when they are lying around playing with each other. Maybe then they could see that the dragons are not demons, are not devils, are not something that came from hell just to kill them, even though they came from Helheim's Gate.
My name is Alicia. The third issue is the fear between the Vikings and the dragons. This is because in How to Train Your Dragon, one of the main conflicts is the deep fear and the cultural misunderstandings between the Vikings and the dragons. This fear originates from years of misinterpreted behavior and incorrect assumptions. The Viking view dragons as dangerous and destructive creatures, constantly raiding villages, burning homes, and stealing their livestock. These actions are seen as hostile, and therefore the Vikings believe they must respond it back with violence. This belief is taught from their young age and becoming a core part of their culture and identity. However, as the story progresses, we learn that the dragons are not naturally aggressive. Their attacks are driven by fear and survival. They are being forced to serve the Red Death as a massive dragon who demands food or punishes them. A key moment that reflects this miscommunication happens when Astrid follows Hiccups and discovers his secret friendship with Toothless. In this scene, Astrid immediately assumes Toothless as a threat and tries to protect Hiccup by attacking the dragon with her axe. Her reaction is automatic and not based on observation or understanding, but on what she's been taught all her life. This is an example of how misinterpreted messages influenced by cultural conditioning can lead to fear-based decisions and unnecessary conflict. The dragon's defensive behavior is mistaken for aggression, while the Vikings' attack further deepens the dragon's fear and mistrust, creating a dangerous cycle of misunderstanding. This cycle of miscommunication has serious effects as it breaks down any chance of trust and fuels ongoing violence between the two groups. The more the Vikings attack, the more the dragons fear them. The more the dragons react in fear through roaring, growls, and flight or fire, the more dangerous they appear. This scene with Astrid highlights how this fear translates into instinctive violent reactions. Astrid doesn't pause to question Toothless' behavior or Hiccup's calm attitude, and she reacts based on fear and assumptions. As a result, Toothless becomes defensive too, showing how quickly miscommunication can escalate into confrontation. The turning point comes through clearer and more intentional communication. As explained in Chapter 1 of IML155, messages, whether verbal or nonverbal, are shaped by culture, perception, emotion, and past experience. Hiccup breaks this cycle by choosing to communicate differently with Toothless. Instead of approaching with weapons or fear, he uses calm body language, gentle gestures, and non-threatening tone. His actions sends the message that he means no harm. Over time, Toothless responds to this consistent messaging with trust and friendship. This shows how nonverbal cues like posture, facial expressions, and others can build connection when used thoughtfully. Later, when Hiccup invites Astrid to fly with him and Toothless, it becomes a powerful moment of transformation where Astrid sees firsthand that Toothless is not aggressive. He is responsive, kind, and even playful. The experience helped Astrid reevaluate everything she thought she knew. Her fear starts to fade, and her communication shifts from being hostile and defensive to open and curious. She stops treating Toothless like an enemy and begins to understand him as a creature with feelings, fear, and intentions. This change in Estrid's perception and communication eventually spreads to the rest of the Viking village. Once they witness Toothless and the other dragons responding peacefully to non-aggressive behavior, they begin to change the way they communicate too. The villagers start to interacting with dragons through mutual respect rather than fear, leading to a more peaceful coexistence.
Hello, my name is Noor Arifa binti Zuhumiat, and today I will be talking about a key scene from How to Train Your Dragon, where Hiccup tries to make peace with Toothless. What's really interesting here is that neither of them can use words to communicate. Hiccup speaks a human language and Toothless is a dragon, so everything depends on nonverbal communication. At first, there's a lot of tension. Hiccup offers a fish to Toothless by tossing it on the ground, but instead of accepting it, Toothless seems confused and suspicious. He raises his card, clearly unsure of what Hiccup wants, and in response, Hiccup becomes tense as well. You can really see how both of them are trying to read each other without saying a single word. Next, then something really fascinating happens. Toothless starts mirroring Hiccup's movements. Every step, every posture, it's like he is copying him. But this mirroring doesn't feel playful. It is cautious, a kind of silent negotiation. Both of them are trying to figure out if the other is safe or dangerous. What makes this scene powerful is that all communication is done through body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and even how they hold their bodies. There's no talking, no objective listening, just observation and instinct. The turning point in the scene comes when Hiccup slowly turns his back to Toothless. This is a huge risk because it shows vulnerability. He is basically saying, I trust you not to hurt me. And even though there are no words, that one silent gesture says more than a whole conversation could. That's the moment when the wall between them starts to come down. Toothless approaches Hiccup carefully and then gently touches Hiccup's hand with his nose. It's a small, quiet gesture, but it is incredibly meaningful because it shows that Toothless is starting to trust him too. This moment highlights how nonverbal communication can be just as powerful, if not more than spoken words. They use body language, facial expressions, and especially timing. They wait, they move carefully, and they give each other space. And even though it's awkward and tense at times, it feels honest, it's raw, and it's real. According to what we've learned in Chapter 7 about nonverbal communication, this scene is a perfect example. It shows how facial cues, posture, and silence can build connection. Even though they don't understand each other's languages, they still manage to create a moment of trust through patience, empathy, and presence. So in the end, this scene isn't just about a boy and a dragon. It's about how powerful non-verbal communication can be, especially when words fall short. It reminds us that trust doesn't always need to be spoken. Sometimes it's the quiet moments that's the most. Thank you.
To summarize our presentation, here are the main 5 takeaways. First, communication is more than just talking. It includes listening, body language, and even silence. Second, we saw how important empathy and good listening really are. When characters start listening properly, things improve. Third, many conflicts in the movie happen because of misunderstanding, whether it was between people or dragons. Fourth, we learned that trust can change everything. Once the characters start trusting each other, communication became stronger. And lastly, even small actions, like a simple gesture or showing patience, can lead to big change. So, the communication lessons in this movie really connect to what we've learned. Thank you.